Hey Internet, Nuclear Ninja here, and today we're going to be taking a look at an interesting pick for the Ultra Premier Cup. Specifically, we're looking at the Pokemon you see as my buddy on screen right now. A few rotations ago, I had a Sudowoodo nest nearby and decided to grind like a mofo to max out a Sudowoodo. This one is a 14, 13, 15, level 50 with Best Buddy. Now the hardest thing about using Sudowoodo is that Rock is a terrible typing. It's weak to Grass, Water, Fighting, Steel, and Ground. Having 5 weaknesses makes it difficult to find Pokemon to pair with Sudowoodo, as I don't want my line to be ABA weak to anything, and I also can't run it on an ABB team because it won't reliably bait out any specific type. What I eventually came up with was a Sudowoodo with Counter, Rock Slide, and Earthquake, Mandibuzz with Air Slash, Aerial Ace, and Foul Play, and Drapion with Poison Sting, Aqua Tail, and Crunch. My backline covers Grass well, is neutral to Water, and has 1 counter to Fighting. Ground is tricky to deal with, but Drapion is actually okay against ground because it can hit for super effective with Aqua Tail. I was less worried about Steel because Sudowoodo can hit back for super effective with Counter. So with all that technical stuff out of the way, let's jump into the battles. Picking up our first battle against Sicky 1, 2, 3, 4, we get a Sudowoodo into Jellicent lead. This is a terrible lead because Jellicent double resists the counters from Sudowoodo, but we swap to Drapion and our opponent counter swaps to Talonflame. So right now, I'm thinking I'm probably going to flip switch because Aqua Tail is super effective on Talonflame and Drapion can just keep spamming these out. We're going to significantly outpace the Talonflame and probably managed to do something good here. I have to call whether this is a Brave Bird or Flame Charge. I called it as a Flame Charge, and I'm right. So now we're in a very solid position. Forcing the CMP tie there, even though we lose the CMP tie, just because I don't want to give them free energy, and I figured they were almost certainly going to throw there. We go for another Aqua Tail. This is going to put the Talonflame very low. I consider Poison Stinging down here, but realize I'm not going to necessarily quite be able to. That first Incinerate scared me with how much damage it did, so we just get the Talonflame out of the way. Our opponent comes back in with the Jellicent, and I'm like, okay, this is fine. We're either going to get a second shield here, or the Crunch is going to take out like half this thing's health. Our opponent opts to lose half their Jellicent's health, and now we're down on energy, but we have a great Jellicent counter here. Our opponent throws right away, and if a Jellicent throws right away blind, that's a pretty good indication that they're probably not throwing the Ice Beam, because normally Shadow Ball hits heavier, so if you have Ice Beam, you'd wait to see what they threw. It is a Bubble Beam, no big deal. Abomasnow comes in and doesn't even bait the Energy Ball. They literally just went straight Weather Ball there, and I'm like, I'm not going to shield a Weather Ball. So Rock Slide coming through, we get the shield, and at this point I'm thinking I've got this one won because Mandibuzz has such a dominant matchup against Jellicent, and Sudowoodo is going to be able to handle this Abomasnow. We get to the Rock Slide here, and it's a CMP tie. Not a big deal. We have a shield, and I'm pretty sure the switch timer is also going to be up by the time our Rock Slide goes through. So at that point, we just have to switch to Mandibuzz and spend 12 years beating a Jellicent while it barrages us with Bubble Beams. So coming through with Bubble Beam number 1, I am already in severe pain. Try to go, and our opponent backs out. Oh, thank God. Like, okay, to be clear, normally I'm not one of those people that's just like yelling top left at the screen. Like, if you want to play it out to the end, go for it, but that batch would have been so annoying to deal with, so legitimately just thank you for backing out and saving us both the time when it was over. Hopping into our second battle here against Afro Nyanko, I am almost certainly mispronouncing that, Sudowoodo and Discrafty. So this is a pretty neutral lead because we're both dealing... Hello? Okay, so our opponents, and as soon as I stop attacking, they start attacking. So I'm not totally sure what happened there. I guess maybe my opponent was lagging, but the timing that they started as soon as I stopped was really odd. Anyway, they go into Jellicent, and we've got Double Dark in the back, so I'm like, I'm going to safe swap Drapion, see what they have in the back, and potentially if Sudowoodo is a decent response to it. And then I can still handle the Jellicent later with the Mandibuzz. So our opponent brings out Nidoqueen, and this isn't that bad for Drapion. Like, these Aqua Tails are really spammy and do a ton of damage. And then our opponent just backs out. So I do feel kind of bad about that lag, but at the same time, I might have won that anyway. That was a little bit cheap, but I'm not just going to back out and give my opponent free low on a battle I might have won anyway. Like, I'll do that sometimes if I was very obviously going to lose and my opponent just lagged a little bit, but I'm not just going to forfeit because someone lagged. It has to be like really obvious I wasn't winning. So picking up a match against AdsDads, who's at 2990 elo and is currently sitting in expert rank, which means this trainer needs a 3-2 to hit legend. And I kind of wonder how you'd react if you're like at the point where you're 2990, you're about to hit legend, and then you just run into a Sudowoodo. You're like, oh god, this legend is gatekeeping me with Sudowoodo. But anyway, we're going to call it. Please be a rock slide. We kind of have to call it against Sudowoodo just because this team is, or we kind of have to call it against Galarian Stunfisk because this team is so weak to G-Fisk that if we start playing it safe and shielding, we're going to get shredded. We kind of need them to bait as our win con. And anyway, we are over farming a bit because we're not worried about getting hit by a rock slide at this point in the battle, and our opponent swaps to Politoed, so I'm going to go straight for the crunch and then probably swap to Mandibuzz at some point here. Or okay, so I was trying to catch the Earthquake there, if I'm pretty sure. And unfortunately, we failed to catch the Earthquake, so now this Politoed is going to be hitting us with 273,411,602 Weather Balls, which, with how tanky Mandibuzz is about half of its health. And he's not quite in foul play range yet, but he's low enough I should be able to foul play and air slash down if he stays in. Our opponent also might have the option of switching out here because our switch timers are a little bit staggered because I stayed in to throw a crunch and farm a little bit. And yep, there's the move into G-Fisk. We're going to go ahead and shield this. You will also notice their G-Fisk isn't quite all the way XL. It's 2300 something, a little bit underpowered. We swap and instantly throw the Aqua Tail. I was wondering how much that would do. Like, I know how hard it hits a level 50 G-Fisk, but this one's a little less tanky, not enough less tanky that it goes down, but we're able to get to a second Aqua Tail there and take out the G-Fisk. And now our opponent comes back in with Politoed, which is in great range to get farmed down by Poison Stings. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this Water Ball go through, not a big deal, finish the farm down, and he has they have a Talonflame in the back. So I'm going straight Aqua Tail here, and these are going to be hitting very hard against the Talonflame. Throw a second Aqua Tail. You'll notice we're one move away from a third Aqua Tail on the Drapion, and we're also one Air Slash away from a move on the Mandibuzz, so you can see what happened there. Like, this was clearly a win. I'm not lagging. I just figured, hey, this person's expert. They're 2990. They're so close to legend. I'm just going to give them some free low and help them get over the edge because I know that's a really stressful situation to be in, and I don't care. I mean, I do know, like, some people will complain about the whole free low thing, but honestly, my take on that is I'm not forcing free low on anyone. I'm just giving you the option to take free low if you want. Like, if I actually did have one person that I was in a similar situation, I stopped attacking against an expert, and they just backed out. They were like, no, I'm not taking the free low. And, like, props to that person. They are going to either not make legend or earn it flat out without anyone helping them with it. But if I'm willing to help and someone else is willing to accept the extra, like, free low getting the legend, I don't really see the problem with that or how it affects anyone else or why you'd complain about someone not earning legend. Like, that's just kind of my take on that whole thing. Hopping into battle number 4 in this set, we're up against Rio, some numbers I didn't quite catch, and we get an A9 lead. Pseudo versus A9 is a decent matchup for Sudowoodo. Our opponent goes out to a Venusaur, and I am going to go instantly into Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz walls Venusaur pretty effectively. The Sludge Bombs are neutral, but we resist the Vine Whips, and Frenzy Plant, the heavier hitting move Venusaur has, is also resisted. So my plan here is, I know the A9 is going to come back in to farm me down, so I might as well let myself get fairly low on HP and over farm a bit, just because this way I'm denying him a bit of energy, and also I'm able to now hit a bit of energy off on the Ninetales. So I'm probably going to be throwing 2 Aerial Aces here, I would assume, and he's just going to be farming all the way down because Mandibuzz is not a huge threat to A9. Missed a bubble there because I am actually not very good at this game. But anyway, we now have an A9 loaded with energy. That's kind of unfortunate. I'm in a tricky spot here. And I'm kind of calling this here like just a weather ball, not a dazzling gleam. Okay, just a weather ball. We can take another weather ball actually, and it's not going to be that big a deal. But a third weather ball would definitely KO. We're able to get to the rock slide here, and I'm like, please just let me take you out, and then please have something that's not good against Drapion in the back. They decide to shield, and I'm like, okay, we're shielding. Do we shield too? We do not shield. I'm just going to let this go and Poison Sting down with Drapion, I guess, because Poison Sting's super effective and they are in the red. So another weather ball coming through. I'm like, I have 2 shields left. I've got to use them at some point, and that turns out to be a mistake. I should have let the weather ball go through because that would not have dealt as much damage as anything Swampert going to be using on me. But, I mean, you never actually know for sure what's in the back, so I made a bad call. It happens. Swampert is a logical Pokemon to combine with A9 because A9 obviously is weak to Steel and Fire, and Swampert counters Steel and Fire both pretty well, so maybe I could have guessed that there would be a Mudboy in the back, but, you know, no one makes perfect plays. Anyway, there's a lot of... I'm not totally giving up on this one yet. I'm like, okay, I do slightly outspam with Aqua Tail. We landed a crunch. I might be able to maybe make something happen here, but obviously it turns out it's not happening. We get to the crunch there, CMP tie, they throw a Hydro Cannon, and that's going to be GG. So taking our officially second loss of this set, but let's be honest, basically first loss because the other one was me giving the other person the game after I'd already won. And almost no lobby time right there. We get Ronal. I didn't even have time to read the name because I was surprised by how short the lobby was. Anyway, picking up a Venusaur. That's actually not a bad lead for this team just because I have Venusaur double countered in the back. So even though it's bad for Sudowoodo, I'm kind of fine with that. Getting up the Swampert here, we're going to be going straight crunch in this matchup. Not much point in baiting because they can survive 2 crunches, so I don't expect them to We take a Hydro Cannon there. Drapion takes a Hydro Cannon pretty well, but with the Mudshot damage, 2 Hydro Cannons will KO. We get the Swampert very low, and now sometimes they overfarm and let you get to an Aqua Tail, but this guy did not feel like overfarming and let me get to an Aqua Tail. And right there we go for another Aqua Tail. I'm at this point kind of just maybe trying to force a lower shield situation because lower shields favor Mandibuzz. Since it's such a tanky Pokemon, it just doesn't really need shields as much. And also we're going to go ahead and outspam here. Now the Sudowoodo overfarmed quite a bit, or not the Sudowoodo, the Swampert overfarmed quite a bit, so it probably has a move loaded for Sudowoodo. Yep, there it is. And I let this go, I guess thinking at this point that Mandibuzz is my win con. And they actually give up Swap to go into Venusaur. That was not the right play there. Like, your Swampert was one quick move from death. Just let it go and keep switch because now I'm going to have my Mandibuzz in play, and also I'm going to have a bunch of extra energy to deal with whatever you have in the back. 2v1s are much easier when I can take out the Venusaur and go into that with energy, as opposed to taking out the other Pokemon first and then going into Venusaur. So this works out really well. We hit it with 1 Aerial Ace and 10 Air Slashes, and we come out of this matchup with an Aerial Ace. We shield at that point just because we're getting so low. It's not looking great for us. Like, I want to have some health so I can survive a move. And our opponent has a Charizard. Now, honestly, what I arguably should have done right here is instantly gone into Sudowoodo and hit them with a Rock Slide. We could have beaten them, but fortunately, they don't overfarm. They're just in a hurry to get this Mandibuzz out of here, I guess. And now we have to watch out for the sack swap, but they sack swap too early and just eat the counter on Swampert. So that saved me the stress of having to time my move properly, and we Rock Slide the Charizard and take our next win. So you win 1,662 wins in Ultra League. And you see this is a 3-2, but I mean, obviously we all know this could have been a 4-1. It was 1 intentional loss, so pretty good set with a Sudowoodo at 3,000 ELO in my opinion. And we get an Ariados, Hopefully we can catch this thing sometime this year. Okay, score. I've had problems with those things breaking out before. And as an added bonus, this Ariados is 10-10-10. And what's hilarious to me about that, I'm going to show you guys something right as soon as I pick up going up to 30-33 elo, is this exact same week, literally, you can see the dates on the appraisals. I got a 10-10-10 Palkia from a raid and a 10-10-10 Heracross from a raid. So overall, do you want to use Sudowoodo? Not if you're climbing. It's not a terrible Pokemon, it can put in work if you align it properly, but my overall win rate with this team was only about 50-50, and if I'm being honest, a lot of those battles involved Drapion and Mandibuzz carrying. That said, I had fun using it and don't regret spending the Stardust at all. If you liked the video, drop a like. If you disliked the video, drop a dislike and tell me why. And subscribe if you're interested in seeing more videos like this.